Jonathan Kuminga, to me, I wanted to lead with this one because it's the most interesting given the saga that they had in Golden State this summer in terms of bringing him back to the team on a relatively lucrative deal that makes him still trade eligible by January 15th. But right now, for the Golden State Warriors, he is hooping. I got this story from CBS Sports that I want to read, and I'm going to give my thoughts as well to add to what I think is an interesting analysis of where Jonathan Kuminga is right now. Now, the section of this article from CBS Sports says Jonathan Kuminga flipping script on Warriors saga. It says Kuminga and the Warriors have gone from an arranged marriage to basketball soulmates in the blink of an eye. Through 4 games, Kuminga, who went for 24 points and 9 of 14 shooting, 10 rebounds and 4 assists in the Warriors' win over Memphis, is averaging career highs across the board with 18 points, 8 rebounds, and 4 assists with a through the roof 69.5 true shooting percentage. Kuminga has never been anywhere near this efficient. He's never rebounded like this, passed like this, defended like this. His sudden feel for the Warriors playoff Steph's movement system and his place within it is palpable. Steve Kerr has glowed about Kuminga's maturity, and understandably so, after the tension of his contract saga this summer to come back to a team that seemingly only signed him because no one else would trade much for him, and likely with the intention of still trading him before the deadline, and play with this kind of commitment to the team is extraordinary stuff on appreciably lower usage than he's required in the past. Kuminga is doing more than ever. Gone are the solo mission mid-rangers that he long shot at as paltry percentage. After a couple of bad shots in the season opener, he's played basically perfect basketball, and as such has seemingly cemented himself, at least for however long this keeps up, in both the starting and finishing lineup. Steve Kerr said that JK has been fantastic. It just feels like he has found his spot with this group. All right, so cool. That's a long-winded way of saying that a guy that's on a $46.5 million 2-year contract with the chance after this season to negotiate a contract extension again is playing like A, he has some real job security, B, now he has more control over his trade value than ever because his price tag makes him valued enough to need to genuinely be played on a night-to-night basis by Steve Kerr, something that he's been apprehensive to do really dating back to before last season. Like, Jonathan Kuminga has had a really on and off relationship with Steve Kerr as far as his playing time practically since being drafted. And so now, with being owed $20+ million a year over the next 2 years, with the chance to go into another summer of having a similar contract dispute, especially if he has career highs across the board as he's on pace to right now, he is a guy that's playing with real control now. And I think fitting within the Golden State Warriors system is a way to secure yourself long-term money, whether that's with Golden State or somebody else, because you need to look good. You need to make yourself look as good as possible, both for going into a trade negotiation yet again, because last year he was not given that same benefit of the doubt. If anything, I think he was kind of held on the bench, kind of to the benefit of the Golden State Warriors brass, trying to position themselves to devalue him as much as possible to make him a much cheaper commodity this summer. Instead, it ended up turning into a long, drawn-out contract conversation that led to them still having to pay him a pretty decent amount regardless. But I think it also put him in the position where he wasn't able to really seek out the kind of trade that he was looking for, because from a value perspective, he's still kind of considered as a really raw talent even this deep into his career, which he's still relatively young, but he's been in the league long enough for us to have a decent feel for what he should be. And instead, he's still a bit of an enigma in terms of what his upside really can be. The athleticism is there. He has the positional size to be an elite level defender. The biggest questions about Jonathan Kuminga has not been talent. It's always been IQ. It's always been whether or not he fits the Golden State Warriors way, right? Of moving the ball, rebounding at a high level, and pushing the ball up the court, being somebody who can be an efficient mid range shooter. These are all things that help him essentially fit in a real way next to this roster. And without him fitting, you don't get a good representation of what he can be in this league because similar to somebody like his teammate Draymond Green, if you haven't seen him in a different system, you don't know how he can thrive. You're going simply based off of the theory of what he's been in the minutes on the floor with the organization he plays for. And more specific with Golden State, they have such a unique offensive system that thriving with them can mean one of two things. It can mean you're either a pliable enough player that if we pluck you from them and put you on any other roster, you can fit seamlessly because they play such a unique style of basketball. If you can pick up their way of playing, you can pick up any style of playing, just given how unique and how dynamic they can be on that side of the ball. The other side of it can be, well, they play such a unique style of basketball that once you kind of integrate yourself in playing that kind of way, can you really play any other style of basketball? Jonathan Kuminga fits somewhere awkwardly in the middle of that right now as somebody who still I think needs to develop as a high level passer, is doing better this season at kind of seeing the hit ahead passes, seeing the pass that'll lead to the pass that gets an easier basket, things like that. The processing speed for Jonathan Kuminga is going to be the upside swing for him. So far this season, he looks really solid in that direction in terms of making good decisions. I think the mid-range shooting for him has been special, and I think you pair all of that with the fact that this Golden State Warriors team is rolling right now against really good competition. Jonathan Kuminga looks like a solid foundation for this Golden State Warriors team moving forward, and you have to be realistic about what Golden State is facing right now. Steph Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green. They're all signed through the next 2 seasons. This season, I believe, next year, and then the summer of 2027 is when everything goes poof. Whether it's re-signing Steph Curry to give him his swan song, or it's all three of those guys retire, whatever the circumstances are. Regardless, the best version of this championship window for the Golden State Warriors really is this year and next year. It's all that's left. And now, thankfully, Steph Curry has won a championship both before KD, with KD, and after KD. So everybody knows that the Golden State Warriors, as far as Steph Curry is concerned, that legacy is sealed. That era of basketball from 2015 to 2026, 2027, that era is sealed regardless of what these next 2 years look like. But with a team that's trying to kind of go out on a high horse in the Steph Curry era, this time frame needs to be maximized. And I think a lot of that has to do with Jonathan Kuminga being great because I don't think they have the financial flexibility to make any other moves on the margins. And I'm going to be honest with you, I think some of the guys that they've wanted to go after in the past are either not available or not available for the price they once had a good price point for. Your Lauri Markkanens, Paul George, Nikola Vucevic. These guys, Nikola Vucevic is coming off of a career year shooting from beyond the arc, and right now he's continuing that trend. Lauri Markkanen is coming off of a 50 ball and looking like somebody that wants to play himself into a better situation. But by being a high-level player, if he returns to near all-star status like he was a few seasons ago, he's going to be a high commodity that's going to require a couple of draft picks in order to attach to it. And the Golden State Warriors, quite frankly, do not have a ton of draft capital. They have a decent amount of their own draft picks, I will say that much, but do they want to part with those knowing that Steph Curry, knowing Draymond Green, knowing Jimmy Butler could be done within the next 2 to 3 years? I don't think they would be willing to part with them, which makes it kind of difficult for them to have a real strong package to get somebody like Lauri to maximize the now. Paul George is arguably the worst contract in the NBA right now. Now that Bradley Beal has been bought out, and now that Damian Lillard, even on his extension, is at a relatively cheaper price point for the Trailblazers as opposed to what's being paid by the Milwaukee Bucks. So some of the main targets they've wanted to go after in the past are not nearly as accessible as they were before. So the upside swing of Jonathan Kuminga, he works for the now and the later. So they need him to be this kind of guy. So it's great to see him happy. It's great to see that he's starting to finally find his fit in this Golden State offense. And he's a big part of why the Golden State Warriors are considered a real contender right now. Like Steph Curry is hooping. Jimmy Butler getting to the line at a high level. Draymond Green back at it with his antics, but at the same time has been big time on the defensive end. But Jonathan Kuminga's progression this year, again, in a short sample size, but his progression this year is a big linchpin in this team being as good as they've been so far and gives them the upside swing of being a team that can be in the championship conversation in the Western Conference again this season. They're going to be special. That has a lot to do with Jonathan. And Jonathan's going to be playing himself into some real money. I don't think the Golden State Warriors are going to trade him. I don't even think the Golden State Warriors can afford to trade Jonathan Kuminga. And if he continues on the pathway he's on right now, they're going to not only be happy that they were able to get some kind of contract done with him this past summer, I think they'll be more than excited to try to get things figured out to sign that next contract extension. Hopefully for Jonathan Kuminga to be not only uh, a lucrative contract, but definitely more years securing his future in San Francisco. Next,